everybody. This is Simone Claridge and True Better You, and I have my dear friend Maarten. He is back from a little trip after having the kidney transplant, his second one, and he actually mentioned that he felt kind of for 7 years imprisoned, right, with your problem you experienced, and. We definitely want to hear about what does it mean when you say I am imprisoned, and how did you unimprison or open the door? How was it when you opened the door? How did you get back into life? And what can you share for people that I know for sure nobody can get otherwise than from a personal experience? So I really deeply appreciate what you're doing. I love that you share this with the rest of the world. And big hugs, and go ahead and share what you want to give to the people here.
Okay. Yeah. So you start up with thank you for introducing me like that, because I already feel very flattered.
You're amazing. Keep going.
Well, I would say the prison story is not I did something wrong, therefore I went to prison. And my sentence, I had to sit it out. But the prison experience is really, how much I was limited to do because of my physical situation. That also limited my thinking and my expectations about life. Determined so much of what I could do and how much I could experience in life. And home was really home, but sometimes it felt also like a prison, because it was very good to have a home. I would rather sell my house and be on the road all my life like a traveler. That's my true dream, like I really want to travel always, because that's when I experience the most. I'm a very dynamic person in that sense, or maybe I think I am. But this was apparently the reason that I stay home for a long time, waiting for 5 years. And then I was released from that dialysis, which most people have dialysis as an idea that it replaces your kidneys and you can do whatever you want. The truth is that you not really can do anything, because there's so much stress. Most people that are on dialysis died waiting on a kidney. And I was very fortunate that I could physically go through the dialysis, but also mentally and emotionally could withstand. The first thing I remember, that when I stopped dialysis, which I did for 5 times a day, that I didn't even think about it anymore. I was so quick, it was out of my mind, like almost like a self, saving myself. Like, oh no, I don't have to think about it. I've been waiting for that, the strongest, don't have to do it. And then I was released from that idea of dialysis. But then the most important thing happened, which was the returning of my kidney function, which enables me from the medicals, it's like raising from the bed, getting out of bed and having the kidney. And then the change start to happen within, it's a really energetic change. Everything changes. And when I talk about energy, I also mean mental and emotional energy. It's one thing. So I call it chi, life energy, you can say in the West, but it encompasses everything. So my whole life changes over month, and now I'm 8 months away from the transplant operation. It's still very fresh, and I'm still, the prison door is closed, but I'm still wondering what is happening in this world. So it really feels like a new life, a new episode in life. Having been on dialysis was alive. Having had my first transplant was alive. And before 30, I had a life that was leading up to kidney failure. And from a very young age, I experienced those symptoms that afterwards, only afterwards, years afterwards, I began to admit to myself and to realize, become conscious of that I had many symptoms before. And that's something that we need to, when we look at medical situation, you only see the blood from a certain time. So like just before I was hospitalized, then I got the the terminal diagnosis. And before, we don't know. So I don't know what happened before from a medical point of view. But awareness came when I was around 15, 16. And, as a small boy or growing up boy, saying to myself, maybe I have some disease. And my inner feeling said that I have something. And I cannot share enough that as being, if you are young and you're listening to this, is the inner life. Sharing your inner life is very important. And not everybody has parents or the ideal situation to express yourself, like theater, dancing, whatever you're doing. And that even is not enough, because I had a very expressive life. I was a musician. I was out and about, always with friends, and we did a lot of things. But there was this when I was alone, there was this, agony or uncertainty or feeling inside there was something wrong. And how can I relate to other people when you don't know what you have? You don't know what to say. You can only say, yeah, sometimes I don't feel very well. But who doesn't? At a certain age, we're trying to get an identity in life, and it's been shaped from birth. So when the disease really starts very early, you grow up with something, and then when your consciousness develops, because you see inner life separate from outside from inside, that kind of thinking, and it starts to separate itself more and more. Then before I knew, I was hospitalized. I was only 29, which you can also say is a long time. But having lived with my life, probably with kidney problems, it was aggravated by medicine I took. I took medicine before because I had allergy, and antihistamine medicine, it's very damaging to the kidneys. So these things I only found out when I was 40. So there's years after. I knew all those things in hindsight made sense. So when I was diagnosed, in fact, I knew now there's a reason why I felt miserable, tired, having less energy than other people. So I knew it. And then I came back to okay, if it's true that I'm in this life having this kidney situation and I received a transplant, I again felt life, amazing life, because I could do everything again. And then slowly that faded away. I was ill for years, really ill. I had many organ problems, but it didn't kill me. I was still there. And then the dialysis came, and then I had another transplant. And the miracle is that I can do everything again, even after 5 years of dialysis. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. I mean, just to think what the body is capable of regenerate itself, where we have no idea about it and we think we know it, but it's not. I mean, this is for me is like, oh my God, there's someone really lived it. And it's, I mean, I'm so thankful that you talk about it. It's great. You also talked about living about a more conscious is tiresome. And so I wanted to, I mean, I wanted to know what it means, but maybe everyone else needs to know what you mean by that, right?
Yeah, so in a psychological way, we try to change our behavior But first we have to know if we do something wrong, we think we do wrong, but we're not aware of it. We go to a therapist and he helps us make conscious, what is wrong, what we do wrong. And then we learn to do things differently in a right way for us, for ourselves. Once that's automated, like any movement we do in life, most of things are automated. We don't think about it. So it becomes unconscious again. But it requires energy to work on yourself. And that's what I mean. So you make something conscious which is not working, then you learn how to do consciously well, and then it becomes unconscious because any learning process goes like this. Like you're learning to drive a car. You need to first do it conscious. No, I need to do the pedal, and then I need to the clutch, and then I do driving. And once it becomes one entity, you forget it and you put it in there. You can do other things as well, so you can drive and at the same time talk to somebody. And so there is this life that was so, that of course I knew how life was, but it changed, life changed. And then I had to understand that I need to do things consciously, because it's not that I did something wrong, but I had no energy for it. So I couldn't do it anymore. That's it. I wanted to, but I couldn't. And this relates to all the people as well. They want to do things, but they cannot do it again. And for me, it was like this episode went on. It has been, I had 2 episodes like that. And so I'm trained to do it now, for more or less. I know and take time and make space for myself. And I think everybody knows this. Not everybody has kidney disease, but everybody knows if you want to change something in life, you need to invest. You need to make something conscious. You need to either take time from your work or take time from, your relationship or whatever, and then do it for yourself. And then to find out, you get more space, and other people might help you. Seeing what you're doing is something you can change. And, people are difficult to, when you get older, it's difficult to learn new things. If you're young, you just go with, you see also young kidney patients, they learn to live with these circumstances. And for me, I've always thought, when I was in hospital the first time, just before the terminal diagnosis came, and they said, your life will be ruled by medicine and by interventions and all those things. And the first thing I remember was I had just had a biopsy in my kidneys, one of my kidneys, and it was very painful. And they said, I will never have a life ruled by medicine. And I will, try to raise myself above medicine, because already I understood it's only physical. We only teach, learn, the people learn, the medical people learn, teach how you can live with that on a physical level. But they don't teach you how to have a full life, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, in one thing. It's one thing, it's never separated. But in medical terms, it's separated. You go to the hospital, medical, physical. When you go home, you need to try to start up a life again. And maybe that's what I'm trained at more than other people. Normally, there's more people with disease. And then if I can change the attitude, always seeing myself as a healthy person, which you don't always know, because sometimes you don't see yourself, most of the times you don't. But I always said to myself, I want to do everything that other people do. And of course, you run into walls, you run into problems, but that's the experience, what I mean. With experience, I mean, you just try if it doesn't go. But if you don't try, you don't know. So I try to do everything the same as other people do that don't have my background of medical problems. And then I realized that there was a lot of problems because of my medical situation. But I also realized that I profit from the idea that everybody knows. What kind of problem you have, you don't need to have medical problems or severe physical problems. Mentally, how you live your life is like, for me, I always see myself as a healthy person. Now I see myself as a healthy person. And that's why I can do this now. Even on dialysis, I thought of myself, I'm doing this because I can do it. Of course, if you look back, you see I couldn't do half or 30% of what I can do now. But at that time, you adapt. I think adapting to what is required, you do. But still, you do it I did it from the idea of having and being healthy. Yes. Having
Wow.
food. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is now, make an example. What was something really, like we talked about being imprisoned, what was something that was really imprisoning you, what you couldn't do, and you are now capable of doing, and you told me you will go also on a long, I mean, 2 months or 3 months trip, right?
2 months.
Kind
2
of?
months. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, talk about what was really your passion, and I mean, what you experienced by living the other life, if you want to say that life that created also the response of a disease, if you want to say, and how do you feel now, even though you went through a very harsh experience, right?
Yeah.
You also said before, we talked a little bit. You said the experience is the most important thing. So, what is that? What you learned out of all this, the life before, going through this harsh experience, and having it what you want in life now? So, yeah, please.
No, okay. Well, there's some different subjects in your question, of course.
I know.
Yeah.
What's on it?
So I try to break it down, but I think in general it's just important to know what you want in life. And so you start from an idea, or I start from an idea that I want to do something. Then I found out I cannot do. Like for a certain moment, I said I want to work. Okay, but I cannot do the work I did before. I was a psychologist, I was a coach, and I was helping people. I said, this is too much because I cannot focus one day. I can focus, the next day I'm too tired. So I cannot have long-term, commitment. I need to limit myself. So I still really want to do something for somebody else. And so the experience for me was, bumping into these realities. What is what I can do? And at that time I got a phone call. Can you teach Qigong in a center for older people? But it's also available to anybody that comes by that can join this group of Qigong practitioners. But nobody had ever practiced Qigong, so I was a teacher for beginners. And I was really touched by, touched from the heart, or touched by it, because I felt, this is something I really want to do. And I can do it. It's just 1.5 hours a day per week. And when I got bad, the physical situation really got bad, I just took the 1.5 hours, and afterwards I was devastated sometimes. I was just very tired. I went home and went to sleep. But it gave so much joy in life. And I was just looking for what gives myself joy. I think that's an important thing. When you go through all this medical and limitations and dialysis, 5 times a day was also very limiting. To have another example, when I go to, let's say, to a town nearby, and I need to be back within 3 hours, I can go there, try to be there as fast as possible, for example, but I'm already looking, on my watch, when I need to go back. So everything was planned. And I just gave an example before you start recording it about, when you were young, you just went out, and sometimes you could stay away, you were camping, or you go somewhere, stay at a friend. You don't mind when you get back home. That freedom, that complete, you don't know what you're doing. You just go with whatever life brings you. that came back a little bit, not completely, but that feeling of freedom, inner freedom. So what I'm going to do now, and I believe in doing nothing, so I have more time to do nothing to get new ideas what I want to do next. And people are always planning everything, and I was the ultra planner because I had to do everything 5 times a day, same rhythm, because if I do the same rhythm, I don't get as tired as I try to do it different. If I was trying to play with the rules, with the dialysis rules, then it becomes difficult. But of course, you don't want to have those rules at all. That's the whole thing. So releasing myself from prison was like, I don't have those rules. They don't mean nothing anymore. It's not use. There's no use to it, and that's really free. So you have different things. I have different things in life that are important now, and I have more expectations about life in general. So the energy, so the chi, is working various ways. You can have. I have more things, feeling a more awakened state, and I have more expectations, bringing more challenges to what I want to do, plays with my emotions. I play with my emotions, I play with my physical, and I can test myself in a different way, but I don't want to see it as a test. It's just the energy brings different challenges. You get more energy, and you also make more mistakes again, or you have more fun, or your life becomes larger, becomes more, and that's why I say, experiencing life is by doing things, and when you do things, you experience, and by getting the experience, you know what works for one and what doesn't. And that's my idea. So now I know what works for me, but maybe the next day I don't. So the life experience is always every day new.
Right. I mean, what I'm hearing you saying, you feel now the rhythm of the breath of the universe, if you want to say it. It goes in and goes out, so it's transforming our lives anyway, we don't know. I feel like you express a more expansion of you now. So you experience those, but you are not more it. You are experienced, a sense of, close, tied into your body and into a structure, but you started to realize that the structure is not it. And you started to realize that the structure is related to how you think as well. So, I heard you before, you started to separate, very, very intensively, like questioning if that is really, do I have to plan everything or it just can be or live it, right? So, and I think this is very, very valuable to see how you express it, so it's beautiful. So, and now you're going on a trip, right? You're going on what you always wanted to do. You want to always live life as it comes, right? Now you have an opportunity to expand even more beyond that. Life is just coming, right?
Yeah, there's so many things. Life is too short. There's so many things I want to do, which is in itself, if I say it, I feel it, so it's bringing it out and just go out and I like to do nothing. So we're going for a trip to do nothing, going to nature parks, having walks, really enjoy being out and not coming back. The idea of having a camper van going out for 2 months. I know when you go out, you don't have to think how many weeks do I just have 2 weeks, so I have to take to map where I'm going. Really now I can say, oh, I want to go to Italy, I want to go to France, I don't know yet, or I decide there, and we end up in Spain. It's like that's the freedom.
That's exciting. That's totally exciting.
I would say I'm very lucky in that sense that I can do it. And also it has a bigger meaning for me. I don't want to make it too much of a planned thing again, but the bigger meaning for me is that by experiencing this, we will get new ideas. So we get new ideas of how to continue life. I go with my wife and my dog. We go with three of us, and we see what happens after. Do we want a second dog? Do we want to move from where we're living now? Do we want to stay here? Take other, more interesting, just staring, at the beach or staring into the ocean and see what happens. And that for me is almost contrary to what dialysis was. There was no staring. There was no time for staring. There was a lot of staring, but always, I'm staring 5 minutes and I have to do something. So, and still, it's all in the mind. The freedom is in the mind, and it starts within the mind. And we limit ourselves, But for myself, I felt I remained free. I've never I managed to never have the medical stuff governing my life. When I was in hospital, I am always conscious what they're doing. I don't want, only when operations I'm not conscious, but I'm happy for that. But I always want to be conscious of things. What's happening? What are they doing? What is the next step? Mm-hmm. And because I just want to have the experience to be in hospital because I need to be there, but it doesn't mean I want to stay there. I want to get out, and as soon as possible, I feel better again. I go out. And, it sounds like I'm taking, I've really just threw myself in the hospital because I had to. I was very ill at 40 degrees Celsius of fever. So I only could, but I knew that what the next step would be. And then what the next step. So I was always trying to be, But as soon as you go home and get into the real life again, it's more interesting, of course.
Yeah. I mean, so now you also implement yourself more in activities around the house. And I mean, food-wise, you are more expanded, the choices you can make. And I mean, you do realize obviously that what brings you the most energy. So maybe you can find 3 or 4 of that what energizes you the most. Maybe you share.
In general, food or more things?
However you feel, whatever comes.
Okay. Well, it's interesting that first of all, I want to feel my physical. I want to trust my body. So I need to rebuild trust. What I did was exercise. And it didn't really make me happy. I was thinking it would make me happy, but it didn't really make me happy because it was confrontational. I know to do certain things, but also I couldn't do certain things. And the muscles were just gone. I had no muscles. And then I need to do it. And then at a certain point, you feel like, oh, because of all this training, I can do more things. So what I really like to do is go out in the garden and work in the garden and, get my head warm and, body starts perspirating. All those things I didn't have for a long time. So I can build trust by doing physical things as well. Then I'm teaching Qigong, which means Qigong means I'm helping people, to realize that if they think in an intentional way about themselves and they don't think about the way to it, but really put themselves in a healthy situation, then they can bring themselves back to where they want to be. And you just see it in the eyes and things start changing. And I have some examples for myself that I know it's working. And so I can share from my experience. That brings a lot of joy. And then, let's say, food is very special because during dialysis I had no, food was nothing. It was just like pills. You need to have some food in the mouth and then digest it if it's possible. with all the problems I had. So I didn't think about food as joyful or a moment of joy. And now I can eat many things. I can eat fruit, I can eat vegetables, unlimited. I mean, fruit is a little bit limited because that has to do with certain medicine, but it's 500% more than I could. You know, it's like a huge change. So I can enjoy and taste the food. I told you before, I think that my senses, they were all sort of filtered, and now I can taste food again, and I can smell things again. And so all senses are better. And so food has become really important again, to enjoy food and then to find out what is working well for me, what I like. And most of the things are unconscious, so I like the natural food. But if I really want to have some food, let's do this or let's do that, try. And so, everything changed. That's my main message. Everything changes.
Yeah, we are definitely coming from the same room, if you want to say so. I mean, we both met at the Qigong course, right? So we both had very much similarities to our upbringing. I fortunately didn't go through a dialysis or a kidney failure. But I mean, I had to learn as well. So, and I do agree that wherever you put your mind, the most restrictive things are whatever you think, whatever you box and rule yourself into. And that is heavy work. People may not understand this if they never done this, like, just a thought, yeah. But this thought creates a feeling, and it can capture you sometimes I had days that captured me. It's like, and you take it for real, and that's the problem. It's just a thought, but you took it on as a reality, and it was not. And to unlearn that it's just a thought, brought me so much, into more richness of life and testing out and realizing I'm not more testing either, so just become aware of my limitations I set myself, right? So it's all good. So no matter what you do, it's all good. Wherever you restrict yourself, it's all good. You just want to know your limitations, and in order to become aware, oh my God, I'm doing that, so I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I think the focusing on the possibilities,
right.
Being relaxed on the way to what you want to realize.
Right.
I think relaxing is an underestimated way of living. And, we always we have to do more, and we have to write more per day, or we have to create more. And all these, that's all limiting. If we just relax and don't worry during the process, is one of my teachers taught this to me recently, that we need to relax more, and needing is not the need, it's naturally relaxing more.
Right, into the process, right? Into relaxing, into letting go, the thinking about it. Just go for the process. Sometimes this might be hard work. If you're in the garden, there might be something needs to be, dig into the ground. It might be hard. But it's about experiencing whatever you're doing and go for it, and just let go of the thinking. If it's bad or if it's good, who cares, right? So that is a process.
Yeah, and it helps if you have a little bit of kidney support. That's fine.
You named that.
Yeah, that's until I find a way to cure my own kidneys, it comes in a different way of energy, which was a kidney transplant, which my donor, it's amazing. He is a post-mortem. He doesn't live anymore, but I think the donor has had the intention to give a part of his own body to somebody who wants to continue his or her life. I think already within the kidney there's the intention, and that I really feel. He really wanted, or it's a he then, he really wanted to do it, and that gives also a lot of positive energy to the kidney and to me. So that's the way I think it's also important that what you say, the thoughts are important. Because
Right.
it's energy. Thought is just energy.
Right. I mean, you are really, I mean, I really hear that power. That is for me real power, what I'm hearing through your voice, how you have been able to, I mean, really make the decision and find the strength that you have as, we call it creator, right? But I mean, as a creator, to make a decision and go for it. This is for me absolute bravery. That's the best example. I mean, how you express it, how you lived it. And this is such an encouragement for people going, you know. So I would have loved for you not going through all this process, but obviously you decided as a soul, as a spirit, to make that experience. I do appreciate this from the bottom of my heart. And I mean, you know, I mean, such a strength to experience. It's amazing. So thank you so much.
Well, there's so much wisdom in your words you just used about choosing your life you have and your soul, and there's so many things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we probably hear you again. We want to know how your path is going. We want to see that strength coming out more and more and then expanding into the rest of the world, right? So true better you will be a true and a better you already are, right? So see you then the next time. And we wish you all the good luck for your trip. And hopefully you can capture some moments probably nobody is able to see it but you, with your wife, Esther, right? And your doggy. Love you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.